The following is a class on the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter number 16, Text number 28, given by His Grace Sriman Sankarshan Das Adhikari, recorded on September 3rd, 2009, in Sofia, Bulgaria.
So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 3, Chapter 16, Text number 28. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavantam parikramya pranipatyanumanya cha pratijagmu pramudita sangsanto vaishnavim shriyam Bhagavantam parikramya pranipatyanumanya cha pratijagmu pramudita sangsanto vaishnavim shriyam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The sages circumambulated the Supreme Lord, offered their obeisances, and returned extremely delighted at learning of the divine opulences of the Vaishnava. Purport. It is still a respectful practice to circumambulate the Lord in Hindu temples. Especially in Vaishnava temples, there is an arrangement for people to offer their respects to the deity and circumambulate the temple at least 3 times. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatan Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajiva Sadoitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devan Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. So, this is a very nice arrangement in many temples to circumambulate the deities. Oftentimes the altar will be such a way that you can go behind the altar.
Много често олтарът е така разположен, че може да минете и зад него.
Just like in our Mayapur temple, you can do like that. That's a very nice arrangement.
Както в храма в Майяпур, това може да бъде направено.
Other temples don't have that arrangement, but you can go outside the temple building, like in Vrindavan, you can go around the temple building, you see. Yes, in Juhu Mumbai you can go around the altar. That's a very nice arrangement, yeah.
В други храмове, където няма такава възможност да се обиколи олтара, човек може да излезе отвън и да обиколи храма.
The other day I tried to do that here in this temple and go around the temple 3 times.
Онзи ден аз опитах да направя същото нещо тук на нашия.
But the neighbors complained. They didn't want somebody walking by their window.
Но съседите се оплакаха, защото не искаха някой да се разхожда по прозореца.
So I suggest that we should get rid of we should have devotee neighbors.
Затова аз предложих да имаме съседи предано дадени.
If they ever move out, some devotees should grab that flag.
Ако някога тия се изнесат, някой предано даден трябва да дойде да живее.
We should have all devotees here in this building, you see.
Цялата сграда трябва да живеят само предано дадени.
So then we can circumambulate with no problems.
Беше да можем да обикаляме без проблеми.
Because that's nice. There's a nice walk, a nice pathway. You can circumambulate, but the neighbors don't like. They're not allowing us to do our religious duty. You see, to circumambulate the deities. So what can be done? Sometimes we have to tolerate preaching. Even though we're breaking our rule of not circumambulating, you see. According to time, place, and circumstance, we have to carry on our mission. Prabhupada had to do that also. When before he got his first center in New York City, he was one time staying with one couple. And he noticed in the refrigerator where he was keeping his boga for offering to the Lord, he noticed there was meat in the refrigerator. That is forbidden. You cannot put boga for offering the Lord in the same refrigerator with meat. Prabhupada asked them, what about this meat? They were vegetarians. They said, why do you have meat in your refrigerator? They said, that's for the cats. Kushka. So Prabhupada said, what can I do? If I had cried that I had broken my regulations, I could not have preached in your country. So sometimes we have to act according to times, place, and circumstance to carry on with the preaching work. As stated here, pramudita. Extremely delighted. We want to save the people from their miserable existence. We want that they should become extremely delighted. We want everyone to be ecstatic, you see, that's our goal. So sometimes we have to sacrifice circumambulating or other different rules in order to preach in a particular country, then we will take that austerity.
можем да го направим, за проповяда в определена страна.
Because the most important principle is to give Krishna consciousness to the suffering souls.
Защото най-важният принцип е да даваме Кришна съзнание на падналите души.
Jarite katadikaha Krishna upadash amara gaya guru hoya tara idesh. Whomever you meet, instruct him in the teachings of Krishna.
Всеки, който срещнете, инструктирайте го за учението на Кришна.
In this way, on my order, you become guru and deliver the people of this country.
По този начин, под моята заповед, станете гуру и освободете хората в тази страна.
So if we take this order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on our heads, and we sincerely try to help people become Krishna conscious, then Krishna's special favor will come to us. It's not that we have to be great transcendentalists to follow this instruction. Even if we are struggling neophytes, as is our present position, even in our present neophyte state, if we will sincerely try to share this mercy with others, then Lord Chaitanya will be very, very pleased with us. Don't think that you have to become an advanced devotee in order to preach. Shama Sundar and Malanti's little daughter, Saraswati, she was a little tiny girl in Vrindavan with Prabhupada and her parents. But she would approach some adult, grown-up person. She would say, "Do you know who is Krishna?" And then she would say, "The Supreme Personality of Godhead." Little tiny girl, you see. So, if you simply know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you advertise, you promote, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you can become a preacher. Not that you have to know 500 verses. You have to have bathed in the Ganga. You have to be second initiated, or even first initiated. Everyone should, whatever you have learned about Krishna, you share that. And by doing that, Krishna then will give you more realizations. Whatever you've realized about Krishna, you tell that to the world, you see. And then Krishna will be very, very pleased. Whatever he has realized, he is broadcasting. So let me give him more realization. Krishna wants that his glory should be broadcast all over the world. You see, that's Krishna's desire. So that the people can be saved from their suffering condition. So if you become one of Krishna's broadcasters, you see, then you become very dear to the Lord. Nachat tasman manusheshu kashchin me priyakritamaha vavita cha tame tasmad anya priyataro bhuvi. Was that correct? Yeah, okay. I was struggling to learn that verse. Krishna says, there is no one more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be anyone more dear. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18. So, would you like to be very dear to Krishna? Would you like to become most dear to Krishna? Then all you have to do is broadcast His glories. Boldly declare, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is one thing I love about coming to Bulgaria. Because when we land, we have a big kirtan in the airport. We're not afraid of being Hare Krishna people. Rupa Manohar will be there with his accordion, and the devotees will be singing and dancing in ecstasy. You see? Sometimes you go to other countries, they wear their karmi clothes, they put a hat on, and then, they greet me like that. With no kirtan, kind of like undercover, But here devotees let it all, as they say, let it all hang out. Just let it all out. We're Hare Krishna people here, and we sing and dance in ecstasy. That's what we do, you see. And the people in the airport love it. That airport's the most dull, uninteresting, boring place in the whole world, practically. But when Hare Krishna Kirtan comes to the airport, it becomes transformed into Vaikuntha. For those few minutes, those of you who haven't come, it's really, you should come next time we do it. It's so glorious, those airport kirtans. They're really, really, they're the sweetest nectar. They really are nectarian, yeah. Because the whole airport, everyone just stops what they're doing and they all look at what's going on here. A festival happening. Wow, what's going on? Everybody comes, everyone looks to see what's going on here. This is amazing. People are amazed by it. It's a wonderful experience. So in this way, we want to capture the attention of the whole world. In fact, one time a reporter in New York City, he asked Srila Prabhupada, he said, Swamiji, why do you ask your followers to dress in such a way that in the West it's considered to be a very odd fashion? Srila Prabhupada said, that is our preaching method, to somehow or other capture your attention. So this Vaishnava dress, it is Prabhupada's strategy, you see. The shaved heads, sikas, neck beads, tilak, dhotis, saris. This is to capture the people's attention. What's going on here? Why is that person dressed in that odd fashion? But I never feel that I'm dressed in an odd fashion. I feel that they are dressed in an odd fashion. Why they're not wearing dhotis and saris? They're walking around in monkey suits. Instead of being dressed like human beings, they're dressed like monkeys. Pants, coat, especially the tie, What is the logic of the tie? What is logical about a tie? Is it to look cute or what is it? I mean, these fashions are really weird. The karmi fashions are very weird, This Vaikuntha dress is so nice. You can feel you're in the spiritual world just by dressing in Vaikuntha clothes. I travel all over the world. I have one pair of pants I keep just for crossing the Russian border, that's all. In Moscow there's no problem, but we go to a very remote border station. The Sovetsk border station. And I went there, the first time I went there in a dhoti. Now I had a visa from the Russian embassy in Washington, D.C., a full visa, everything, all the paperwork, you see. But they looked at my dhoti and they couldn't figure out what was going on. I couldn't speak one word of Russian, they couldn't speak one word of English. So they detained me for Mataji was also there. Of course, she's Indian, so it didn't matter to them. I mean, Indian body, you see. But they couldn't figure out, what is this man doing dressed up in a dress? I was detained for hours, many hours. I was detained. They didn't know what to do with it. So sometimes, so therefore I have to, I do wear pants when I cross the Russian border there at Sovetsk. But other than that, I always wear dhoti because this is Vaishnava culture. And I love Vaishnava culture because it makes me ecstatic. And I want that the whole world should become ecstatic. Therefore, I want everyone to see what is dhoti, what is tilak, what is sika, etc. You see. So in this way, the whole world can become transformed if they become connected with Krishna. And people will be able to become delivered from birth and death. And Prabhupada will be happy. If we can save the world, Prabhupada will be very, very happy. He ordered us to save the world. He told his disciples in Los Angeles, he said, become guru and deliver the whole world. That's a pretty big assignment. Now it's your duty. You must save the world. So we have to try our best, you see, and we want to engage all of you. We should all engage together in this activity of trying to save the world. Save them from what? Going down to the animal kingdom in their next life. So we have a few minutes left. Are there any questions? Narada Muni?
He has heard that sometimes the spiritual master must come back to the material world to save some of his disciples, one
Yeah.
of his disciples, but he thinks that the spiritual master is always with Krishna, so he's always in the spiritual world. So
Yeah.
what does it mean to come back to sense?
Actually, we see in the example of Prahlad Maharaj, he is one of our great acharyas, Prahlad Maharaj. It is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Prahlad Maharaj is simultaneously in the spiritual world and the material world.
Виждаме от примера на нашия велик ачария Пралад Махарадж, как в Шримад Бхагаватам се казва, че той едновременно се намира в духовния и в материалния свят.
So this means that the spiritual master can remain in the spiritual world in Krishna's pastime, and at the same time he can take birth in the material world to save his disciples.
Това означава, че духовният учител може да е едновременно в духовния свят за влиянието на Кришна и да е в материалния свят, за да спасява своите ученици.
In fact, it is described by Srila Prabhupada.
Това всъщност се описва от Шрила Прабхупад.
You may know the story of Bilva Mangala Thakur.
Може би знаете историята за Билва Мангала Такур.
His spiritual master in his previous lifetime took birth again
Неговият духовен учител в предишния му живот се родил
as a prostitute.
отново се родил като проститутка.
In fact, his own spiritual master became his prostitute girlfriend.
Неговият духовен учител всъщност станал негов
To save his disciple.
приятелка, за да спаси ученика си.
So please do not force your spiritual master to become a prostitute.
Така че моля те, не дай да караш духовният учител да стане проститутка.
You must make your life successful in this lifetime.
Трябва да направиш живота си успешен в този живот.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Гуру Махарадж спомена, че трябва да появаме според времето на мястото и обстоятелството. И понякога се налага да жертваме някои неща. Кое е това обаче, което не може да жертваме, като естествено това са различни дисциплини, това е другото, което не може да жертваме.
You mentioned that sometimes for preaching purposes we could sacrifice some of the rules in order to preach, to spread the movement. But he's asking what is this thing, of course, besides the regulative principles that we should not sacrifice.
As far as possible, you shouldn't sacrifice any of the rules and regulations.
Наша отговорност е да не жертваме никое от правилата и ограниченията.
But if there's necessity of preaching, then you should check with your spiritual master
Но ако е необходимо за проповядването, човек трябва да провери,
to see what to do in that particular situation.
да се консултира с духовния си учител, за да види какво да направи в такава ситуация.
And then the spiritual master may give a concession.
И тогава духовният учител може да
On principle, you shouldn't violate any of the rules and regulations.
направи някаква отстъпка, но по принцип човек не трябва да нарушава който и да било принцип.
It's like here, even though there's a principle to circumambulate 3 times a day, I'm authorizing you not to circumambulate here because of the neighbors.
Както тук е описан принципа да се обикалят 3 пъти на ден, аз ви авторизирам да не го правите заради съседите.
Any other question? Yeah.
Да казваме за Кришна, но от друга страна пък да не извършваме оскърбление към това оскърбление, да говорим пред невярващи в славата на царството. Да намерим баланс.
How to find the balance on one side to tell others about Krishna, but simultaneously not to break this to make this offense of preaching to the faithless.
Yes. Someone may say, the whole world is faithless.
Някой може да каже, че целият свят е изпълнен с невярващи хора.
Therefore, to avoid offense, I will not preach.
И затова, за да избегна оскърблението, аз няма да проповядвам.
But at the same time, Lord Chaitanya ordered to preach to everyone.
Но в същото време Бог Чайтаня ни казва да проповядваме на всеки.
Does that mean Lord Chaitanya was crazy?
Значи ли, че Бог Чайтаня е бил нещо луд?
So how do you balance it?
Как да го балансираш?
Actually, it's very simple, the way to balance it.
Всъщност, начинът да се балансира е много прост.
Yes, they are faithless. But that is on the surface. Beneath that mentality of faithlessness, within their heart they are actually all devotees of Krishna. They are all faithful ultimately. Within the faithlessness, there is faithfulness. So you simply have to approach them in such a way that you penetrate through their faithlessness and connect with their faithfulness. An expert Sankirtan devotee knows this art. He knows how to find that friendly, pious nature within the person, connect with that and get him to take a book. So that's why it's recommended that everyone should distribute books. Because that helps you to learn how to connect with their higher nature within. Because actually everyone is a devotee. They're just covered right now, that's all. So you have to approach them in such a friendly, nice, humble way that they will become attracted to what you're saying. In fact, your question has been directly answered by Prabodhananda Saraswati. He was a great follower of Lord Chaitanya. He has written a great book called Vrindavan Mahimamrita. He went to Vrindavan and spent his whole life in Vrindavan. He was able to witness Krishna Lila. Even though the Leelas had taken there over 4,000 years prior to his being there. He could see the Leelas going on in Vrindavan. So he was a highly realized Uttama Adhikari devotee. But he was also an expert preacher. And he gave a tip on how to preach. He said you should approach the materialist and you should bow down at his feet. And you should flatter him 100 times. That, my dear sir, you are so handsome.